G'day everyone, it's STS SuperCoach, providing SuperCoach content for you. My Instagram and Twitter handles are down in the description below. And I'm here to present some potential upgrade targets for everyone to finish out their side for the rest of the year. Decided to do a little bit of a different intro as well. I feel like the intro's a tad too long. But anyway, let's get into it. So we'll start off down back. Defense. I think we'll go by averages instead of total points. I think we get a better scope here. So look, I was actually going to tier these premiums in each line to see where you can upgrade and what I think their scoring will be for the rest of the year. But George already did that last night, so you can check that video out if you want to. But yeah, that was a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. I'm just here to give you guys some upgrade targets for your side. So look, for example, Tom Stewart, he's one that I'm sure we would all dream to have in our side if we haven't got him already. But as we can see, yes, I do have SuperCoach Gold. Let's just go to price. And unless you get him in this week, I mean, this is what's his projected score? 136. So maybe that's putting a bit of mayo on it because he normally doesn't go back to back banging scores. You know what I mean? He normally has a little gap between each score. But anyway, back to price. Even if he does put up a 136 against the Dogs, who aren't the strongest team this year, by round 12, after round 12, so after his game against the Dogs, he could rise as big as 648k and then have the bye. And that's, for me, I don't know about you guys, but 648k for a defender, you're happy to pay for a midfielder if he's worth it. But, man, for a defender, I just don't think it's worth it. So look, if you have him, congratulations. If you don't have him, I'd probably look to pass him on and upgrade that money elsewhere, or just go with the cheaper option. And look, I think a perfect example of this is Jack Sinclair, where he's getting a lot of the ball out the back, and St Kilda play this chip sort of game, and it runs through Sinclair pretty easily. So I think Sinclair's a terrific option. Break even of 54. If you don't get him in after his bye next week, heading in around 13, look, you're probably banking on not having him in your side. So this is the main chance to get him after his bye next week. And as we can see, so he's in 23% of sides, which is still relatively low. So 562k, look, I would have loved Tom Stewart in my side, but I'm probably going to go Sinclair next week. So I think Sinclair's a very fair option for you guys to go after. Sam Doherty's another, but I'm just worried that, look, I'm mainly taking this off George, but you know, he might fade this season in the second half of the season, where Sinclair with a better preseason, and Sinclair might just outrun him, and Sinclair might just be that guy that outscores Doherty. Now, if I can't afford Sinclair, I might just have to go Doherty. But look, I think Sinclair over Doherty is what I would prefer for people to do. Dan Houston, look, you could go with Houston as a pod over Doherty, but tomato. I think Sinclair's the main guy you have to go for down back. Bailey Dale, I still think's at a cheap price for what he can do. He can give you consistent scoring. He's a bit like Jack Crisp. They're actually tomato personally, but there you go. Witherden's got a high ceiling, but we've seen a couple of these average scores from Witherden in recent weeks, I believe. Yeah, he's dropped a couple of 60s, so that's not a very good floor to have. Cumming, it's a good name, isn't it? Isaac he started off the season pretty well, but he's kind of faded out a bit due to Himmelberg moving down back, and potentially Lockie Whitfield moving back into a good position, maybe playing his actual position. But I feel like that's more wing than halfback, but I guess we'll see. Maybe a mixture of both incoming. And then after this, Aaron Hall, if you're ballsy enough to go for this, I'm not. Luke McDonald is doing a lot down back, so they might ease Aaron Hall in. Gee, it must have been a bloody good hamstring injury, because he hasn't played since round 5, so that's mental. Pendlebury, I wouldn't do it. Loston's dropped off a bit, hasn't he? Actually, a lot. Like, what's happened to him? He was averaging he's had a couple of shockers the past couple of weeks. Yeah, we never really considered him as an option, though, did we? Rich, nah. Lloyd, look, if you're going a very cheap option who's had the history in the past of scoring really well, look, you might go down this route, but keep in mind that 101, that was without Nick Blake in. He kind of seems to be the man down there. I think it's pretty sure. Luke Ryan's a very cheap option where, gee, it can pay off, but gee, it could ruin your season sort of selection. And other than that, I wouldn't really consider Dane Zorko, no. Yeah, I just wouldn't really consider any of these picks. Is there any diamonds in the rough you could consider here? Not really, to be honest. I think after that, yeah. So look, the players that I've mentioned, I think the whole purpose is you try to bring in the best scoring possible from each line and put them in your side. So I think I think I would aim for Sinclair. I think that's still a very good price for what he's capable of. I'll certainly look to bring him in next week if I can't afford him, but I think I might be able to. Then I'll go for Doherty, but we'll have to see. So yeah, I wouldn't really consider many options. The lowest I would consider, I would say, is Jake Lloyd. That's the absolute, if you're really strapped for cash. But even then, surely you can find a way to get an extra 30 or 40K to get to Doherty or Houston or Witherden sort of thing. Isaac Cumming. So yeah, look, so they'll do for defence if we're looking at options. But the main one I'll do is if you don't have Sinclair, I assume everyone's got Sicily and Hewitt, so I'm not really talking about that. Obviously, if you don't have Sicily, it's over. If you don't have, there's no point grabbing Sicily, it's over. Hewitt, if you haven't got Hewitt, you need to jump on him before he gets to 600K because he's not far off. Short, sorry, I didn't really talk about the blokes that I have. Short, I'd probably avoid at the minute. I'd probably prefer to go Sinclair, of course, if you can, or it's just that role's a bit dodgy. Jordan Dawson, what is he, 563? Look, I still think Sinclair's a better option, but Dawson's a good option. And Crisp, I mean, if you want consistent scoring, go for it. But if you want to go a bit of a differential with Dale and Crisp, I think you go Dale ahead of Crisp. And yeah, anyway, let's do the rucks. Actually, it's probably not, I probably don't need to touch up on this too much, but if you've got Proust, I think you trade to potentially, just a proper premium. Max Scorn's here. If you want to get him in, this week's a good week to get him in, but even better week to get Sean Darcy in. Break even of 68, he'll definitely hit that. And look, to be honest, I think he's going to be the highest scoring ruckman for the rest of the season if you don't include Tim English. So I think real way to get a bit of a differential in front of anyone is if you go with Darcy ahead of Gawn. If you've got Darcy and Witts, I think that's a good position to be in. I'm not being biased because I'm trying not to be biased because I've got those two current Witts and Darcy currently. But Darcy especially, I think, can be the best scoring ruck for the rest of the season. Is there anyone else like Gawn? Look, if I had to rank I'll talk about English in the forward line. If I had to rank Witts, Gawn, and Darcy for the rest of the season, how would I rank them? I think I'd definitely actually, let's include Nankervis as well. I think I would go Darcy 1, Witts 2, because they've got a really nice fixture for the rest of the season, the Suns. I'm pretty sure they've got North Melbourne twice, and I think they got West Coast for the second time this year as well. So I think Darcy 1, Witts 2, Gawn 3. Then probably Nank 4. Yeah, just don't know about Gawn at the minute. Just that knee strapping that he's currently got going on. Just that the balance between him and Luke Jackson as sharing in the ruck. It just scares me. And I just think Witts and Darcy, I think they're two blokes that you would want for the rest of the season. So not much to talk about in the rucks. Down forward now, this is quite the talking point. Look at all these Dogs players. Yeah, so there's a bit to go through. I mean, look, in an ideal world, I think you'd want English, Dunkley, Baz, Bont, Parker, and then one of probably Brodie or Liberatore, probably one of Brodie or Liberatore. But yeah, I think just target these Bulldogs players, especially Tim English. If you don't get Tim English this week, I'm not sure if you're going to get him for the rest of the season. So I think English is the main guy you got to target this week out of any premium this week, even ahead of Darcy, ahead of whoever you want. I think English is the guy to grab this week. I'd prioritise English over Darcy because English, I think there's a real chance that he's just going to score definitely 115 plus if he's playing. He can. There's so many avenues where he can score. He moves around the ground, takes marks. Isn't the strongest in the ruck, but he certainly just has a lot of avenues to score. And yeah, I mean, a bit unlucky for him, but it was a shame for him to get injured. But gee, imagine if we just. To be fair, if English didn't do his hammy, I was going to jump on him heading into the Adelaide game where he did his hammy at training at 570k ahead of Heaney. Gee, wouldn't that have been pretty handy to do? But yeah, I think English, this is a really good week to get him. Even if it affects your buys, he's probably going to be the highest scoring forward for the rest of the season. Dunkley, I think, yeah, basically everyone has, so we don't really need to talk about them. If you don't have him, what are you doing? Bailey Smith, yeah, I think. Look, I know a lot of people saying they prefer Bont. If they prefer Baz. I think I'd go for Bont though, because I think he's going to add a little differential. How many people are adding Baz this week? 1.5. It's fair enough. How many people are adding Bont? 0.9. Look, I think I would prefer to add Bont, but it's tough. You can't go wrong with either or. I think maybe you go Baz this week. If you've got English, you got Dunkley. You're picking between Baz or Bont. I think I'd go English this week just because that 37k difference can mean the world to you in upgrades throughout the bye rounds. So I think Baz I'd go over Bont this week, but I think Bont can just outscore Bailey Smith long term because I think Bont's just capable of those grouse scores. Will Brodie, if you don't have him, there's not really much point bringing him in. Go for one of these Dogs blokes because we don't know how he's going to be like when Luke Parker comes back and all that. Did I say Luke Parker? We'll see if Luke Parker comes back. I meant Nat Fyfe. We'll see what happens when Nat Fyfe comes back. Now, Luke Parker, 21% in size. I think I think you're just better off targeting these Western Bulldogs players. But I do think there is a world and where I think he should be top 6 for the rest of the year. So I think Luke Parker's a good trade in. I wouldn't complain but I'd prioritise Bailey Smith and Bontempelli first of all. Tom Liberatore, look, if you've got all these Bulldogs boys and for him to finalise your F6, I don't think it's a bad option. Just make sure your buy structure is okay. Heaney, I wouldn't touch whatsoever. Just avoid Heaney for now. Adam Treloar, that injury history does concern me. Look, I think the players above you are better options other than Heaney. Ben McAvoy won't play. Tim Taranto, no. Gresham's been a good cash generator, but if you have a luxury upgrade to do at some point in the year for one of these Dogs players, I would do it. But for now, he's doing fine. What's his break even actually? 66. Oh, he's actually been a grouse pick for you this year. I just got a bit concerned, I think, with him having. I just thought he'd play a lot more forward than he has, but he clearly has been killing the midfield. And Dustin Martin, I probably wouldn't touch. Zach Butters, Canelio. Look, if you can luxury upgrade one of them, then I would look to do it to one of the Bulldogs players. I might look to do that because there might be a world where I can luxury upgrade one of Cogs or Butters to Bont or Baz. And then look, after that, Dylan Moore had a good start early, but he's faded away. DeGoey could do something, I don't know. And then after that, don't really trust any of these picks. Mitch Duncan, hasn't he fallen off? Yeah, look, my main takeaway with this is you just got to go after the Bulldogs blokes. I think the cheapest option you could go with as a forward option is probably DeGoey. So if you're looking for a cheap forward, go for DeGoey. But other than that, just keep the cash generation up and continue to try to get the money to get in English this week if you can. If not, I'd probably wouldn't worry about him because he is going to get, if he scores, what's his projected score? 127. Even if he gets a 127, and it's a good matchup with the Cats, because I think he can definitely outscore Stanley pretty comfortably. Heading into the bye, he'll be 630K if he gets a 127. So that is just too much to pay up for. So I'd go after Tim English this week. If you can't, go for the Bulldogs boys. All right, and finally, let's just talk about the midfielders. Who are some good upgrade targets to finish out the side? Callum Mills, look, if you haven't got him, I would just avoid. I mean, he's going to go down in price. So, I mean, if you're patient enough, maybe he could come down at a good price. Maybe something I should look at, but there is certainly a player I do have in mind in heading into round 15 that I'll talk about later. McRae, what's his break even? 149. Look, it doesn't feel like he'll hit that against the Cats. He's just been in a bit of a rough patch at the minute. Lockie Neal, everyone has. Clayton Oliver, it's probably too late if you haven't got him. Look, basically anyone that's, I would say, about 620K or over, probably a bit too late to grab him. So that's just my opinion. Rory Laird, even though I picked him up at 634K, I had to trade out Jack Steele. So I think Laird is a solid option, and if you're in his side, if the 8.2% of people are watching this, then I think Rory Laird's a good good captain or vice captain option for this week against the Eagles. It's Parrish's break even 99. He's a tad pricey, but I could see a world where you could go for him. Hewitt, Walsh. Yeah, Walsh. He's moving half forward up to the midfield, but I think Walsh just a tad too pricey for me, but maybe he drops a stinker. Oh, sorry, he's got the bye this week, my bad. Yeah, then we can see Keys, Kelly if you wanted to go someone different. But I've got three blokes I would want to talk about. If you're looking for a super cheap midfield option, where is he? Have I gone past him? Super cheap. Tom Mitchell. If you want to get him in, and he helps your buy structure, because I think most people are dealing with issues with the round 12 and 13 buy. The round 14 buy I think is pretty easy to get through, but that round 14 buy is looking pretty good where you can add a couple of players to that buy. So Tom Mitchell, he's a prime picking at 480K. I wouldn't recommend the pick, but if you're strapped for cash, you've got to go for him, I feel like. I think he's the bloke with the history, the scoring potential. He could change around your season. And the other two blokes I'd like to talk about in the midfield. Zach Merritt, 520K after his bye, going up against the Blues, 75 break even. That's a beautiful break even to have. And I think he is a good trading target. Look, I probably would have gone for him if there isn't one player in mind that I was going to go for. So I think Merritt, very good price for what he's capable of. He can definitely get about a 110 average for the rest of the year, and I think that's a very handy M8 to have. So, yeah, I think Zach Merritt's a good pick if you haven't got him. I think that's definitely a good trade-in target. And the final one is Christian Petraka. If you're willing to wait a little bit, this man's going to drop. If he scores 102, if he gets the ton against Sydney this week, he's still going to drop 29K in price. Then, as we can see here, so they'll go down to 537, then 515. So he's projected to get to 515 in price after the bye. So I think if you had to pick between Petraka, Merritt, or Mitchell, I'd put Mitchell 3, but to be fair, that's a very good price for what he's capable of. And between Merritt or Petraka, look, you're getting in Merritt earlier, but I just think Petraka's ceiling is higher than Merritt's. Like, I think Merritt can get you consistency. If you're looking for a consistent M8, go for it. But I think Petraka, if I've got Brayshaw on my team, so I think Petraka can give people, he can give you a 150 whenever he likes. Look, the score didn't look that good this week because he had the flu. So I'd probably ignore that and just let the price go down. If you haven't got him already, a lot of people do, but if you haven't got him already, like me, I'm waiting till round 15 to pick him up at a really good price, 515K. Too cheap for what he's capable of as a player. So look, that'll do me. That'll do me for this video. Then I will do my trade video coming up next. So hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.